Beyond the Wild. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Beyond the Wild podcast. We are coming to you midwinter, and I know from talking to many of you across the landscape, winter is not everywhere this year, surprisingly and concerningly, but it is certainly here where I am, big time, one of the most amount of snow accumulation we've had in many years. It's very nice to see out there, winter wonderland, and then some. Snowshoes are finally worth owning again this year. And our guest tonight is from right near to me. But before we introduce him, and he's got some, well, lots to talk about there. Ron was going to be on. We got to see Ron's face. He could hear us. No, we could hear him, sorry, and his great lighting he had going tonight. We're missing his ambiance, but unfortunately didn't get hooked up. So Jason, who I'll talk to in just a second, is here. The one thing I wanted to say, too, when we got going, we've primed a lot for a trip we were going to do over previous podcasts. And this episode was meant to be recorded live in person with our guest tonight here in Ontario, Canada. And the guys were going to fly up, and JG, our producer, was going to join, and we were going to have about 5 days in the field to pursue a variety of subjects from snowy owls to pine martens. Excuse me. But unfortunately, a big weather system came through, and Ron's flight was unable, well, it got canceled and wasn't able to pivot. So we've postponed this trip. So if you were waiting for the content, it will come someday, but unfortunately not right now. We're all missing it, and I was saying to people, saying to Pilly, I got work done this week I wouldn't have, but as we all know, we don't remember the work we got done. We do remember the good times in the field with the people that we are friends with and love and enjoy hanging out with. So super disappointed it didn't pan out. It was the coldest week we've had this year, so that would have added some challenges and great photos probably of frozen faces and fingers and stuff in the field. But we'll figure something else out. That's the latest on what happened there, or didn't happen, unfortunately. The last podcast, if you watched on YouTube, JG was ahead of the game. When Ron was talking about it, he put a graphic up on the corner of a plane with like a cross through it, like no go, so it was kind of funny that he fit that in time. But Jason, how are you doing, man? It's good to see you.
I'm doing good. I wish I was seeing you both in person, like you already alluded to, but yeah. And I'm in an area, well, the whole West out here in the United States is lacking in snow. It's been a pretty crazy winter as far as that goes. So not as cold here. We had a little bit of a cold snap. This big storm that affected a lot of the country missed us. Temps dropped a little bit. Didn't get any snow out of it. Didn't get super cold temps. So, it was almost business as usual for me here anyways. But yeah, I was really looking forward to that trip. So we'll have to make sure it happens again in the near future. Hopefully sooner than later. Really, it's way more fun to hang out with everybody in person, and we were really excited to try to do some in the field content and some other stuff too that we don't really get a chance to do because we're not together. But yeah, and it would have been nice to meet our guest in person too. So
yeah, we'll do it again with other trips. There's other things. Yeah, we'll figure out something else this year, and at the very latest, reschedule it for next winter and yeah, hope for the best then. But yeah, missed big time. Always fun to get together with other photographers and our crew. We're overdue. So many of you may know tonight's guest through social media. His photography is certainly worth your attention, and his traveling and where he's been and what he's been up to is also very cool and different content than what we've, I think, ever maybe had on the podcast. So it'll be fun to hear some of that. If you already know him, like I said, I think, but Nick White, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. I appreciate the kind words. Too kind. But yeah, no, honored to be on and to chat with you guys, chop it up about some photography. It's what we all love.
I have more kind words. Ambitious, extremely outgoing, optimistic, positive, talented. And hey, I love we got the dueling fireplace thing going on here. That's cool. Dueling's
That's
not
right.
the right word. Complementary fireplaces. Yes.
It's been cold enough here. We're
Right?
both dug out. Yeah, more snow than like outside of the last few years. I've lived here my whole life, and we've never had this much accumulate here.
I was in walking in the woods yesterday, and there were a couple of times I stepped, and it was almost up to my chest in pockets. It was up to my belly button, over waist, almost all the time. Yeah,
Wow.
it's impressive, and yeah, different landscape, but it's cold, so it's not slushy. It's powdery, right? But there's enough of it. There's some density, but yeah, it's very very old school winter. Yeah, it's been a while, so the fire's welcomed at night. So there's a few things that Nick's got going on that look forward to getting into tonight. But I don't know if we should go back to how we met. I think well, I know you communicated with me first time directly, I believe, when you were in Scotland, but yet you live currently like literally 10 minutes or less away, which is cool.
Yeah, I forget exactly. It might have just been over um, a listener question on the podcast or something initially, but I forget how we sort of figured out that yeah, we're a stone's throw away from one another back here, and I was by that point I'd already had the move home date from Scotland, and yeah, plan to get together and do some shooting, and yeah, it's cool. It's funny. It's a big world, but it's a small world, isn't it?
Can be.
Especially when you get into niche hobbies and stuff, you can it's a few degrees of separation from everyone.
Yeah, this is one of those for sure. And social media has, made it for those that are on it. It's not obviously necessary for people to be on it, but an opportunity for more of a community outreach that brings it closer.
Big time. There's so many people, especially in wildlife photography, that I'm so fortunate to know and have spent lots of time within the field, that there's no way I ever would know without the social media thing. So as much as we all like to gripe about it and we have our grievances, I really think it's a net positive, even just for the connections that turn into real personal connections.
Yeah, it's funny. I've probably been the one that's been the most vocal against it lately, and Mark is very positive about it too. And I try to be positive about it because I'm with you, Nick. I agree that I think it's a net positive, but I also think it's about your own discipline and how you use it as well. I think there's a personal element to it there as well that you got to have some ownership of if you're doom scrolling and not being productive with it or whatever. It's a tool for sure, but it's a great tool, and I would have never met half the people I've met in this industry and what we do in our hobby, whatever you want to call it. And they're almost all very incredible people. So I agree. I think it's good that you're putting a positive spin on it again. I've got to temper my own disdain for some of it and own the fact that some of it's just me. That I need to make sure
Yeah,
I use it the way I should. So
yeah, and it's tough because sometimes using it the way you should, or the way that you want to, or feel that you should want to, is it contradicts how it wants you to feed it. You
yes,
know, so yeah,
yes,
it's interesting, and but yeah, I like to think it's a net positive purely because of the connections.
yeah, I agree. I do agree, and you're right. I mean, you have to ask yourself, what are you doing it for? And if you're doing it to grow followers and stuff, then you got to play the game. If you're doing it just to share your stuff and to have connection with people, then you can use it that way and not feel like you have to feed the machine, if you will. So
Yeah, and it was
but
huge in Scotland because like I I showed up there knowing nothing about the wildlife there and knowing no people, and where we moved when I moved across, because my wife was already there. She's a veterinarian. She did her vet school in Edinburgh, world-renowned vet school. She's super fortunate to have been educated there.
Amazing.
And so then once she finished, I hopped over because she wanted to practice in the UK before coming back to Canada. Because here they really stream you either small animal or large animal in school. And then once you're out, you certainly have to choose here which one you're going to do. But there they really promote doing mixed practice, and that was important to her to do that, and she didn't want to have to choose right away. So stayed in the UK, and she got a job at a mixed practice as far as you can go north in the UK mainland, tip top of Scotland. So like I got there and I was the only serious wildlife photographer for like 100 miles, so not even anyone I could hop on with to like learn some stuff. Like it was all just solo. So without social media, I wouldn't have been able to make the connections there that sort of said, hey, this might be a good starting point if you go here for this. And then like that information was invaluable. And then you meet up with these people. And then as I learned my area where we lived, I was able to help them when they came up. So and without that, I just would have been in my own little bubble up in remote rural Scotland. And I just would have been throwing stuff at the wall until it stuck in terms of wildlife. It was a neat experience, but I'm super grateful for the people that I connected with that helped me out.
Awesome. Just a quick segue, that the veterinary school covers everything there. And that's, the famous TV show, All Creatures Great and Small, right? Our kids love that. My wife loves it. And that's kind of, I'm envisioning it, that's what Nadine is doing, right? She's living it.
Oh, that was a huge inspiration for her. And she was living that life. And I would argue more hardcore, like,
wow.
C-sections on cows on cliff tops and out in the rain in the middle of the night in December. Wow. They were the only practice for a huge area. So far from any sort of specialist hospital. So when things went sour for animals, it was them. So they had to figure it out. And so the amount of experience she got and the variety of procedures she had to do, she's just an amazing vet because of it, and so well-rounded. The experience was phenomenal, and just a beautiful place to live too. It was like stepping back in time there. It really, right. Really cool.
The scenes of, this might be cliche, but the scenes of Braveheart, right?
Yeah. But it's just a different world, because it's still like a Western English speaking country, but it's so different. Like everything there is older than everything here. All the buildings, all the roads, all the stone walls in between farmers' fields, everything, it's, and we were technically in the Highlands, but we were as far as you can go. So we were sort of beyond the high part. We were back to flat again, but very maritime-y. We were right on the sea, flat moorlands like peat bogs with heather and gorse, and then it was very flat plateaus and then cliffs down to the sea. So a beautiful area, beautiful place, and quiet, open, slow moving. Yeah, no, it was a really great place to spend 3 years.
Feeling the vibe. It's that's it, right? So I think that's something to take a moment. Two things quickly with Nadine. That's a whole other level of loving animals and caring for animals, to do all of that as a veterinarian. So hats off to her to learn that and have such a versatile skill set for her trade as for the welfare of these animals is awesome. Another thing is the fact that we have a lot of guests on the podcast that travel around and share insights from places, but rarely is it somebody who went and moved there for 3 years. So I'm personally really excited to hear about your experience because you will have learned it so well. It's such a large, wonderful sample size of time. And as you've already described, such an amazing landscape. And I don't know if you want to go here, and I don't want to go too far off, but it's fun to think about. I mean, your wildlife photography is certainly what we're excited to chat with you about with Scotland. And there's something else coming later in the show, everybody. So stick around for that too. But what you did there, job wise, was another one that I'd love to hear about, but I don't know if it fits in. But basically, working as a lobster fisherman and was like the deadliest catch out on sea kind of thing. So I want to talk. The wildlife is where this show is, but there's an element that could we take a couple minutes and hear what that was like?
Oh yeah, because it was wild. And if you'd asked, like, it was not on my bingo card that I would ever be a lobster fisherman. Like if I was placing bets, I would have like bet the house on no. They're like, how's that ever going to work? But yeah, the circumstances just lined up. It was actually a farmer that Nadine, I think might have been delivering a lamb. He was a sheep farmer. But he worked part-time for this fisherman, but he was taking on the family farm full-time. So stepping away from the fishing thing. So he knew his boss was looking for a guy. And through talking, I'd sort of expressed that might be a cool job to do, not knowing what I was getting into and the state of the North Sea and especially the specific area that we were in. It was just honestly crazy and not something I would have ever signed up for a career for because of the danger. Just the risk, I don't think would be worth it. You talk to guys who had been doing it their whole life and none of them had not ended up in the water at some point. It's just, and in the North Sea, that's a wild place to be. And a small boat, it was just the captain and I, 30-foot boat. Essentially, we were catching lobster, velvet crab, brown crab. But it's the North Sea and it's 12 months a year. And the biggest part is, if you can imagine, the UK is an island, right? And in each day, the tide, all the water has to go from one side to the other and back, right? But it can't go through the island. So all that water has to go either around the top or around the bottom. And because we are at the very tip top, the top northeast corner of the mainland UK, all that water had to scurry right around the corner. So the tidal bore, like the current from the tide, if you at these pinch points, you couldn't go against it. Like there was times of the day where if we went around the corner, we couldn't get back around for another 6 hours. And then when that fights against a big wind, a big easterly gale, like the waves get crazy, just so dangerous in every way, but also so amazing to be out on the water every day and being just the sea air and being able to see all the wildlife. Like I say, there was cliffs, so we had colonies of puffins and guillemots and razorbills and northern gannets, and we had every different kind of whale you could think of, humpbacks and pods of dolphins swimming around the boat. We had probably a dozen orca encounters the 3 years I was there, where orcas would be swimming underneath all around the boat, watching them get on kills. Like, just the wildlife that I saw from the boat was amazing. And then just the experience to be able to harvest food that went all over the UK and into Europe, and to see how we did it in such a sustainable way. Like the amount of bycatch was so minimal, and we just good fishing practices that is efficient for harvesting food in a sustainable way without harming other wildlife. It was just a cool thing to be part of, and yeah, I'll look back on it really fondly.
Yeah, that's a great insight. Well, especially since you survived. Yeah.
That's right, because I had a couple good ones. I had a couple like real close ones.
But you never got dunked.
Never got dunked, but like the problem is if you get dunked, you're probably done.
Mm.
Because so how it worked was we'd have on one end there'd be a buoy, and then it was hundreds and hundreds of feet of rope, and along that rope there was traps. We'd have 25 or 30, and then so we'd throw the buoy out and then shoot all the traps out after we'd loaded them up and rebaited them. So as we drove along, they're self-shooting this string of traps out the back. But my job while the captain was driving was sort of facilitating the traps going off cleanly, so they weren't wrapping up with one another, and so we got a good string out set while he figured out just exactly where we want to put them, because it was amazing the precision. Like 20 yards either direction, sometimes you'd catch nothing, but if you got it just in the right spot, they'd come up just heaving full. But this rope, like always twisting around, so easy to get a foot caught in it, and then off you go, and then you're getting dragged down by a trap, so you're done, right? And then there's just other things, like if this big tide's going and a trap gets stuck on the bottom while you're hauling them up, it's trying to get them free, but also there's all this tension on this big rope that's stuck underneath a rock or something 100 feet down. And then so if that snaps or if it pulls across and hits you. And then we had one time we were shooting the traps out, and there was a big 300-pound metal table that's what we brought the traps onto, and then took all the crab, lobster out, rebaited them, what have you. And as we were shooting the traps out, the rope got caught on the leg of the table. And next thing I knew, this table was flying back at me, pinned me against the back of the boat. And I was able, like, just sort of with its momentum, it flipped up over top. But like, once again, like this inches to disaster, you know? And then we had a rogue wave once come, and right over the whole boat. We were right sideways. If we weren't in a catamaran, we would have been flipped over, certainly. And yeah, the whole back of the boat looked like a tornado went through it afterwards. My camera was in a Pelican case, and I look back and it's floating towards the back of the boat, so I had to grab it. Just wild stuff. But yeah, no real disasters, so it's all fond memories. And it's over. It was a finite period, so the risk assessment sort of said, okay, I can do it for that long, and then be done.
What a lifestyle, though, right? I mean, I'm just mesmerized by your stories of just those few. I know longtime friends in Newfoundland, and when they talk back to their uncles and grandfathers, it's surprising how many have died at sea.
Oh, yeah, and so what sort of was new to me, because, like I say, we're 16 hours, 14 hours from the sea here. So like it's sort of, before I moved there, this was all quite alien to me. But there were a couple local boys doing just what I did that died while we were there. And it's sort of like, oh, it's sad, but then it's sort of, okay, like, cause it's just it's something that happens. So
Mm.
it's sad, but people aren't like caught by surprise, I suppose.
To
It's
first
just it
percentage.
comes with the territory, which sort of freaked me out. But
You think about that. What a different life, right? Than what I think about, and I'm sure most of our listeners, life at sea. I mean, it is how people, so many people sustain themselves, but there are these elements that we don't even consider that are frequent risks. I mean, you need such a high level of common sense and luck to live through that career.
yeah, what I found was it, I always had to stop myself from being complacent because a lot of it was quite repetitive, and in like a therapeutic way. But I always had to sort of turn my brain on, even though it was all muscle memory, because it's just those little alert moments when things are high risk. And I talk like it was terrible all the time, weather wise and wave wise and danger wise. There were plenty of dead calm, sunshiny days where it was just paradise being out there and you're just smiling in a t-shirt hauling lobster traps all day. So
And watching puffins zip by, and that's very cool.
Hey, Nick, you mentioned that you had your camera out there, which I would have expected, and it sounds like a great opportunity for some lifestyle type photography. I was just curious if you capitalized on that at all while you were doing some of that stuff.
a little bit. It, the best photos of like what we like the photos of us doing our thing out there, where my wife came on the boat a couple times and took some photos of us, but it was just the captain and I, like a small boat, just the two of us. So not too many opportunities for that day to day.
Right.
And then the orcas actually only show up on the days that you don't bring your camera.
Oh,
Yeah. That's the rule, eh?
Yeah, that's the rule. They know. They let one another know, and then sometimes if you've got your camera, you'll see them far away, but they only come right up to the boat when there's no cameras on board.
The camera shy. Okay. Wow.
That's too funny.
So, yeah, that was. I mean, I'm glad we took the time we did, because we barely touched on what a crazy, amazing experience that was for you, and what a different lifestyle so many people have in coastal regions like this. But being a photography podcast,
Whoa! I'm sorry. Before you switch gears, I just have one more question, and
yeah,
I'm just
go
trying to
for
know
it.
because I love the fact that with your wife getting the training she did, being more of a generalist, if you will, was she able to then take that back with you? And is she a generalist now, or has that worked out for her, or did she have to kind of choose?
So they really like legally she could be a mixed vet, but just the way everything's formatted, it's just not feasible.
Understood.
Like she'd have to. Yeah, there's a few mixed practices out there, no one near us. But yeah, they really, everything sort of makes you choose here.
Gotcha. Yeah. Which way did she go?
She went the small animal side.
Oh, cool.
But that doesn't mean that she won't do large animal work again, because we've got lots of travel plans in the future. We've sort of set ourselves up so every year we can do some long-term travel. So there will be opportunities for her to locum and do some sort of short-term contract for the big critters if she gets the itch again.
Right.
But she's enjoying the work-life balance now of the 8 to 5.
Nice.
Because there was a lot of long old nights up serving because the farm animals don't follow time limits. They
don't need help. Yeah, they don't need help 8 to 5, right? So
no.
Yeah.
They actually prefer to wait until the middle of the night.
Exactly. All right, Mark. Sorry, we can switch gear now to photography. I just had to ask that.
It's no, it's that's very interesting, and it's funny how it is that way here, where the clinics seem to have one or the other, and instead of branching out and covering both. But that's not my expertise. There's really a lot of content we can cover on today's podcast. We try to squeeze it into one episode. They just reminded me about not to go there just yet, but your van build project. That's pretty cool. Um, so still thinking about Scotland and the wildlife there. If you don't mind, Nick, if you could tell us when you got into photography, just to give a little bit of a backstory about this big time passion hobby that has developed to be, and whether that was before Scotland, and what was going on for you camera wise, and then uh, pivot into this Scottish experience, and what were the highlights there photographically.
Yeah. So, sort of photo wise, like I've always been enamored by photos in general. Um, like I just always remember loving photos, loving wildlife. Like my parents were great. We were always camping growing up, and um, yeah, out in nature. I always loved animals. I remember like Robert Bateman, the artist. I always
Mm.
loved going through his pieces of all because so much of his stuff is local because he's sort of local to us, you know. Um, but yeah, a lot of my family photos when I was young, I'm not in them because I was taking them. I would steal the camera, um, always taking photos, and I think probably as a lot of us go started out with landscape stuff because those are the lenses that come with the cameras early on, and then you take your first photo of an animal and then it's all over. And then you figure out you get a longer lens and a longer lens and a longer lens, and then you're hooked, right? um,
Figure out you got to sell a vehicle so you can afford a lens.
that's right.
Yeah.
So I probably started dabbling in wildlife photography in 2018 or 2019. Um, like a lot of people, got a used Sigma zoom, like 150 to 5 or 150 to 6, whatever it was, and started going at it. And yeah, I did that for a while. Moved to Scotland with that setup, and then while I was there, really decided to give it a go, you know, and because when I do things, I tend to do them.
I've seen
um,
that. You go. Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah,
that's I mean,
I've,
in a positive way. Yeah. I love the
yeah, I've
energy.
got two speeds, on or off. Um, so yeah, we got some better gear and started to really just spend more time working the craft, you know, like we all do. So I really came back a much better and more experienced photographer with better gear than when I left, which is part of the reason why I'm so excited about just getting back and getting into all the wildlife that I grew up around, you know, and that I really know. Um, but in terms of the UK's a whole different beast in general. If I can back up a bit when it comes to wildlife, because there have been people on that little island for so long, and it's so developed, and it's they walked so that we could run in North America. You know, like they made the mistakes so that we could learn from them. The predators have been gone there for hundreds of years. The last wolf was killed in the UK in 1700. The last bear was killed in 1000 AD. You
Wow.
know, so there's minimal natural predators. Like the apex predator is a white-tailed eagle, or a red fox, whichever you want to consider. You know, the deer population is out of control. There was in the 1970s there was 450,000 red deer in the UK. There's 2 million now.
Wow.
Holy
It's a
moly.
lot of roaring.
A lot of roaring.
I love the
And
roar.
yeah, it's like a giant burp. It's
I've never
it's a
heard it
wild
that
sound.
way.
Yeah, they're
Million. Amazing.
yeah, it's a very unbalanced ecosystem. And but the issue is, once again, it's what I know, so we take it for granted. But our North American model of conservation is it's really good, you know, because it's a central authority typically, or more centralized authority, making large scale decisions, sweeping decisions. Like there's not many cooks in the kitchen. And the wildlife's owned by the public here. Where there, the wildlife is owned by the landowner that wildlife is standing on. And in a lot of cases, like there are, like birds of prey have their own sort of protections, and some different animals have legal protections. But in terms of most of the wildlife, their fate or their management, everything to do with them is decided upon by the person whose land they stand on. So it's not cohesive, and it makes getting anything large scale done very difficult. So
I like the analogy. But so in this case, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
yeah, tons of cooks in the kitchen, and a lot of them disagree on things.
Mm-hmm.
Because in a place where there hasn't been predators in such a long time, there's the camp that wants rewilding and wants these predators reintroduced, but then there's also the camp where it's like, no, we don't want them back. We got rid of them for a reason. And another wrinkle is the farmers, you know, because a lot of, especially Scotland, is sheep farming. And a great example is the white-tailed eagles that were effectively totally killed off because they'd steal lambs. So they've reintroduced them, but it's an issue because there's a lot of hurdles for the farmers. It's becoming harder and harder to farm. It's becoming less and less profitable, and they don't love the idea of government dollars being spent on reintroducing things and in watching these things carry their sheep away, their lambs that are becoming less and less valuable anyway, you know? So that, coupled with the sort of lack of a central power, it takes a lot to get stuff done wildlife wise in the UK. So you end up with these interesting imbalances, but also, like, as a photographer, if you like photographing red deer, man, is it a good place for it, because there's tons of them, you know? And invasive species are also an interesting thing in the UK. If you want to get into that, there's 6 different deer species in the UK, and only 2 are native. But so many of these invasive species, like I say, because it's such a long historied place, some of these invasive deer species have been there for hundreds of years. So it's almost like they're native.
Species, if you don't mind.
So there's the 6 species are red deer and roe deer. So those 2 are the native ones. Roe deer are like little mini whitetails, and they have tall, sort of narrow antlers.
It looked like a pronghorn, kind of.
Yeah, kind of like a pronghorn. And then the invasive ones are the fallow deer that come from Europe. There's the muntjac deer, which are Asian. The Sika deer, I believe, are also Asian, Japan, perhaps. And then Chinese water deer. And they're the little ones with the fangs.
Oh, cool. No Irish elk hidden anywhere there, right? I mean, I'm still looking for one.
No,
All right.
keep looking.
Yeah, the largest ever. Yeah.
What I was so taken aback by getting back to photography is that for such a small island with so many people, I don't know what the population is of the UK, but it's a lot. And it's not a big place. There's so much wild land, and in the wild land, there's such a concentration of wildlife. Yeah, just the amount of bird species, birds of prey. Yeah, no, it's really neat. All the coastal the seabirds and then the seals, yeah, it's full of wildlife and really really fun stuff. It's it was a great surprise because I went there not for the wildlife, but I got a whole lot of wildlife out of it.
Yeah, it's an incredible landscape. The population, according to the interweb, is 5.5 million people for Scotland.
Yeah, for Scotland.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scotland's quite empty. I guess it's made up for by the fullness of the other half of the island in England. But even in England, there were some pretty magical places where I got into some fun wildlife. Where any barn owl stuff that I got was all down in England.
That's podcast number 3 we'll do together, the England podcast. All right. But Scott, where you were up in the Highlands and stuff, I mean, it's such beautiful landscape, right? I mean, it reminds me of the north on the parts of the north in this continent. Now that I've been there, just image wise, and I mean, I'm always drawn to that. It would be amazing to walk the Highlands and photograph the red stag rut. And so, what are a few of we really could do this in 2 parts tonight, guys. What are the highlights photographically of your time as far as species and experience and while you were there?
Yeah, there's a lot because like it wasn't just a trip. Like that's the cool part. Like I
young life. What are you, 23? No, kidding.
A really cool one was because it was close to home. I had we had the largest puffin colony in the mainland UK, about 15 minutes from my house, and there's obviously really big colonies out on the islands, but this one was big enough. But I had it all to myself. Like this area I lived was just empty. Up where we were was very remote, very rural, and not really many other photographers. Or I didn't ever see any. Put it that way.
That's proof.
Yeah, but also because we were like, if you look on a map, where the top of Scotland is about the same, like far north as Churchill, Manitoba.
Okay.
So we had like the weather's nothing the same because it's coastal. It was very mild all year round, essentially. But we had long days in the summer and short days in the wintertime. But in the late June, I would go almost every night. We'd eat dinner, take the dog for the night walk, and then I'd set off because the sun was still high in the sky. out to the puffin colony, and I'd wander down the cliff. I had a few spots where I could sort of safely scale down, and I'd just sit there on some nice lush grass in amongst the wildflowers and just watch puffins and photograph them for hours all by myself. Just so much space around me. Watch the sun go down. It was just amazing, like otherworldly. And we're used to amazing experience in places like that being full of other photographers. Because it's so amazing, I don't blame them. Like, we usually share amazing places with other people, but this was one where it was just me every night, and it was something really special, you know. Produce some awesome images, which is always fun, but like, even if you didn't bring a camera, you could just sit there for hours and watch it all happen, because the burrows were all around you, and got puffins flying in mouths full of sand eels. Yeah, really, really cool stuff.
And that was on the southern coast of the UK, right?
The northern.
No, the southern.
See where you're going.
I'm just being a smart aleck.
Slice of heaven right there.
Yeah. Too far from it. It's not worth driving to.
No, there you go.
You run out of gas on your way there.
Just switch to horse and buggy.
That's right.
It is interesting though. You mentioned about 5 million in Scotland, and it looks like the UK population is about 70 million. So
Yeah,
it just
there you
gives you
go.
a little bit of an idea of the how empty Scotland is compared to the rest of the UK. But,
Big time.
yeah,
And I've always been curious why that is, because like the weather's not that much worse. It's worse, but yeah. It's nice. It feels old. It's slow moving. It's a very relaxing, wild place to be.
Slow moving is so welcome. I don't know. I maybe it's me. Everybody's personality is different. But anytime getting in the north, whether it's Newfoundland, Alaska, and just being in wild spaces where when you take 4 steps, you're into a forest or into it on the barrens or in a landscape, that things do slow down. The lifestyles are slower there too, right? It's not, I can fully appreciate that. And yeah, personally I'm drawn to it. Don't know about all of our listeners, but it's something and nowadays is most welcome, to have opportunities to slow down, and not for 5 minutes, but to get into that lifestyle. I think is healthy.
agreed.
So you want to? What are you thinking?
I mean,
about
Mark,
that?
we could do 2 episodes out of this for sure. There's no question.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to
mean,
propose that in a moment.
I think we should, but I don't know what's the other thing we want to cover here.
Well, I've got another question that pertains to Scotland for Nick.
We haven't even left Scotland yet.
No. Do you want to? How do you want to? And this is fine. We're still rolling, everybody. We're going as a flow here. Are you game, Nick? Do you want? We can stop the recording at some point after this next little segment, and then do another 45 minutes now, or do you want to do another night? Or
Yeah, I'm good if you want to go. I've got nothing in the morning.
what about you, Jason? What's your energy and thoughts? Well, that was a thumb. It was a hand gesture.
I've got the F-35s. You can't hear my hand thumbing.
No, I know.
But the F-35s are flying as usual. So
yeah, and it was a thumb. And Jason Loftus is one of the most polite people I've ever met. So there you go.
Right. Most of the time.
It's there's some really cool subjects that we're going to explore with Nick. Something that's important nowadays, and slowing down is kind of a pivot to that. But before we leave the Scotland stuff, and looking over your shoulder, I can see part of the red stag in the water. I've enjoyed your images so much on social media, and just for the audience benefit, wildly thick of it, right? With a period between each word. Wildly thick of it is your Instagram handle, and just curious, what's the name mean? What's it come from? Is there something behind it?
Um, kind of. So,
You want to share it or not?
yeah. Well, it's silly. So I guess the
He's
like
good.
being in the thick of it's a good thing. Like being out in
Okay.
nature, in the thick of stuff.
Right.
And then I honestly don't even know the reason why, but Thick White has been my nickname for about a decade now, for better or for worse. So
All right. Well, we'll attribute that to just being a fit guy then, right?
there we go.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, you do get out there. I mean, I think when we were at the meeting that is about the next episode, part of that'll be you said you just hiked like 11K the day before in the winter woods looking for anything wild, but barred owls perhaps at that time. But um, cool. So wildly thick of it is Nick's Instagram, and I don't know if you want to shout out. I mean, it wasn't something we talked about, but you are offering to share a wild stag experience with people. Are you?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So
Sorry, red
we
stag. Sorry.
yep, yeah, red stags in Scotland in the Highlands. We're going to do that. I believe it's the last week in October. I've got a website. You can look up the Thick of It photography, or just my name and wildlife. We'll bring that up on Google. And yeah, there's some information on there about the trip. It's really cool. It's in a on a classic Highland estate, really old fashioned lodge. It's all very quintessentially Scottish. You know, the glen, the mountains. It looks right out of a like a whiskey bottle label. You know, but yeah, it's amazing hearing the stags roar and watching the interactions between the males. And yeah, they're a different beast for how similar they are to the elk here. Physiologically, a lot of the behavior is very different, and it's an amazing place to spend some time and amazing animals to see. And yeah, I'm looking forward to bringing some people and sharing that with them, because yeah, it's something that I enjoyed a whole lot while I was there, and I don't think a lot of people sort of know where to start. There's a lot of Scottish Highlands and a lot of mountains, and yeah, no, looking forward to it. And thank you for bringing that up.
So how many people are you taking on a trip? Can you take?
We're going to take 6 people.
Okay.
Yeah, my wife's going to come as well, and yeah, no, it'll be really good.
Yeah, it's. I think it's so. It expands one's perspectives on so much traveling, right? I mean, personally, I thrive on traveling, especially for wildlife destinations and immersing in them for time. And there's always that preparedness, you know, the week before, getting all the ducks in a row, checking all the boxes with work and fiscal responsibilities, packing the right things. But once the trip's on en route, things drop off, other stresses drop off, and it's one of the uh, things about and I Scotland and Newfoundland is something it's different, right? It's a different environment in so many ways. And I love how you talked about when you were fishing, lobster fishing, the sea air. The sea air is different. It's invigorating. The salty air, it's fresh. There's a breeze. It's these environments feed us, and new experiences, new ecosystems are a sensory thrill, right? It's not just about the caribou or the red stags. I mean, they're the highlight subjects, but there's so much to the habitat and the culture and the lifestyle that they're really marvelous places to be. I haven't been to Scotland. My son was there last year in Edinburgh and traveled around UK and Europe, but and spoke really highly of it. but would love to. So I'm not speaking from personal experience there, but from everything you've said and I've seen, it resonates, that new environment that is exciting to explore. And for me, I love the seaside northern stuff. There are, many friends that love doing, red pandas, sloth bears, tigers, whales in Baja, all kinds of different places, all amazing Svalbard experiences. But there's something about these coastal landscapes and islands and wild places that are magical, and really, after a period of time, you walk away calmer, more content. I'm not sure everybody does, but from my observations, um, everybody has, I believe, and we certainly do thrive on it. So yeah, it's very cool that you're doing that, and it's something, as far as the show goes. I've sharing the Reds Stag rut, and it's funny, right? The evolution and diversity of wildlife on this planet can never wrap one's mind around it. Sir David Attenborough has been talking about it his whole life. He could have another life duration and keep going, right? We wish he could, and keep doing this, because there's endless content and magnificence out there. But the comparison between North American elk and the red stag, they're similar on so many levels. Not identical, similar, but the bugle. So many people love that about elk, but it's so different than the roar. And the roar has its own impressiveness too, right? It's kind of more what you'd expect out of these animals than a bugle.
Yeah, it's really neat. And you'd think a roar's a roar, but when you get a real big, dominant stag, it's just different. Like it's chilling, But you're so right on the magic of the Highlands and the calmingness of it. And where we go, it's an hour and a half on a single track road. Like, you're so in the middle of nowhere. And it's just, you leave calm and content, and you just get to shut off and take it all in. It's a great place to be.
Yeah. Natural stimulus is the best kind, right? For us, for our senses. And yeah, very cool.
Hey Nick, we have a tradition on this show of, when we talk about certain animals, Mark is really good about vocalizing them. So not that I'm trying to put him on the spot or anything, but I'd sure love to hear what a red stag sounds like.
Well, I have to defer to Nick tonight.
We're putting Nick on the spot.
I don't know if I could do one. I couldn't do it justice, I'd be doing a disservice to the species. That wouldn't be fair.
Maybe we can have JG throw in an audio clip of one, so everybody.
I could probably find one.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we can get one for sure. But I was kind of trying to put Mark on the spot because he loves to vocalize.
Oh, nice. I thought I was immediately handing the baton to Nick on this one. I've heard it, but not in person. So, but it, yeah. And just this. I mean, we'll pick up on the next episode. It's fun when we get to do a 2-part, and this, I think, warrants it. But something else. So Scotland being magical and a new experience in so many rich ways that you've described for this episode, and thank you for sharing that. I also really resonated when you said it sometime in the past couple of weeks, but at the beginning of this episode too, about being excited to be back here and having the immense diversity of wildlife back home to explore now that you're more into wildlife photography. So that'll be a fun thing to pick up on, amongst others, in part 2.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, it's exciting.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Beyond the Wild podcast. Thank you to Nick White for joining us. I just want to take a moment, thank our sponsors, pictureline.com and Canon USA, for supporting Beyond the Wild podcast. As you know, if you're looking for anything camera gear related, Colin Bigelow is our contact at Pictureline. Tell him that you're coming from Beyond the Wild podcast, and he will look after you exceptionally well. Thank you to all of you that have contacted them for your camera gear and more needs. And everybody that I've heard from, whether it's from Jason, Ron, or myself, have been exceptionally happy with Pictureline. And by ordering through them, obviously you help to support our podcast, which goes a long way. And thank you all for that. And you know where to find us and where we'll be picking up on next week's episode. Until then, enjoy the outdoors wherever you are, and I hope you have enough time to get out in open spaces, to have deep breaths, and have help everyone's peace of mind. And here's to a great week for everybody. Hope so. And that's a wrap for another episode of Beyond the Wild podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Pictureline.com, your online source for everything photography, and Canon USA.